Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice round of 24. We're in Group C, and to my left-hand side I have Mr. Benjamin Baker, and I have Rotterdam as well. But since I want to get into this game before next week, we're going to be going straight to INnoVation versus Rogue. Let's go.
After a Zerg versus Zerg and Terran versus Terran, it is time for our first non-mirror matchup of the day. GSL, SSL, Katowice, and BlizzCon. These are just some of the titles won between these two players. Please welcome on stage, it is INnoVation and Rogue.
INnoVation up against Rogue. Two of the favorites to top this group are in the bottom two spots in it. Jeff, this is an unexpected turn of events. They're fighting for their life now here in this third match. It's going to be an action-packed Zerg versus Terran. I mean, did you see this coming at all?
No, I think it would be silly to say that. But I mean, you look at these groups, and we've been talking about it. The funny thing about this is, it is shocking, but these guys are all so dang good that it's no longer 2014 where INnoVation is just head and shoulders better than everybody, or it's not 2017 and parts of 18 where Rogue is just literally better than everybody is playing. These guys are all so good that it can end up this way. Now, it's worth noting that even at 0-2, INnoVation's not out, right? Like, he's gotten some of his harder matches out of the way. He still has Serral to go, by the way. But he can get back from this.
Yep.
Same with Rogue, of course, at 1 apiece. The entire group is basically 1-1, except for Serral.
Absolutely. I mean, that is, of course, it's a hard road, but we've seen people go through with 2 wins, 3 losses before. Yeah. You know, it can end up in a lot of different ways. I think the big surprise so far, of course, has been that, you know, Ragnarok doing so well. But it's early days yet. Technically still the first half, or I guess this is the midpoint of the group. So we are going to see how this match goes. Now, you know, despite early performances maybe not being as dominating as we would expect, this is going to be a very, very solid Zerg versus Terran match. This is the ZVT match. There's been lots of action. INnoVation versus Solar had those big macro games earlier today.
Yeah, they sure did, and there's so much more to come, too. I mean, we've got some really sick matchups coming up, but right now it's these two handsome gents on the screen. Rogue, INnoVation doing battle here. This is pretty close to a must-win for INnoVation. It's against a player like Rogue, by the way. I like the breakdown they did at that desk earlier. They talked about if you still have Serral to go and you're 1 or 2 losses, you're in a tough spot. But here we are in the top. Well, we're going to start in the bottom. Excuse me, bottom right-hand side. It's the blue Terran, INnoVation. Shout out to the audience. You guys are awesome. They were filling this place up bright and early. There's a lot of great StarCraft coming.
And up here in the top left-hand side, the red Zerg, the former IEM Katowice World Champion, representing generic Green Wings, he is Rogue.
And I'll tell you, I mean, again, like you said, it's halfway through, so we're not quite there yet, but INnoVation at the bottom of this group, Gumio 1-1. You know, we made our jokes, all the Terrans were here in the round of 24, but they're starting to go a little bit extinct. We need a couple of these guys in the top 3.
Yeah, it's such a surprise. Maru going out yesterday in INnoVation. So many people were watching his online performances leading to this and saying he's so good right now, so dominating. And you know, it's time for him to show what he's got, because otherwise it is going to be another missed opportunity for the blue Terran. We do see Rogue there, of course, sent out an early worker scout, was spotting for any potential proxy barracks. So Rogue playing very safe. 1 Overlord checks the north, 1 the south, drone checks the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There was a period of time there where proxy barracks was all the rage, and it never really felt like things made it go away. It's just kind of almost the skill level of the Zergs and dealing with it, because it saturated the meta so much, it felt like they just kind of moved away from it. We still saw it yesterday with Maru, and I would say it was successful, by the way. He went on to lose that game. I'm not going to beat that dead horse, but the bunker rush aspect of that strategy worked pretty well for him there.
Yeah, you know, and there's ways to transition out of these and turn it into not an all-in, but more of a heavily committed pressure opening. And that is exactly what these players like to do a lot of the time. Rogue, though, not wanting to deal with any of those shenanigans. He was safe, he scouted, and he is now looking for the quick third. But the Drilly Boy there, ready to block, just going to hold position, and the Reaper's going to come over. Is Rogue just going to take the other third base? Looks like he will.
Yeah. And Pig, for you, obviously, is an extremely skilled Zerg player. Is that okay, that third spot? Is it much worse? Is it okay?
I think it's totally fine. It's interesting because, you know, it's got this kind of high ground above it, yeah. So above the rocks, you can see tanks and kind of elevated Marines down there. So there's going to be more of a focus on Rogue breaking those rocks down early and spreading creep up to that high ground and kind of controlling the area in front of it. Whereas the other third base has a much bigger kind of wide open area where you can flank and attack a lot easier.
So it adds an element of urgency, I suppose, but it's still kind of, I mean, the nice thing about these map pools is the third bases are like fairly secure, but at the same time attackable, right? Like that's the kind of balance you want to strike in a map. You don't want to ever have a third that's just poop. There's nothing you can do about it. We're going to 3 or 4 base economy. A lot of aggression potential, I suppose.
Yeah, we've had maps like that, like in the past, right? There was even quite for a long time where there always had to be one map where, you know, I always call it the free third base, right? You'd get your third kind of behind your base, and it was always encouraging players to play either very all-in or very greedy because, you know, there was these extremes of the spectrum because it was so hard to do a middle-of-the-road light pressure without it getting shut down.
Yeah. Those were the days of weirdness. I vastly prefer where we're at now, where it feels like the better player wins more often than not.
Yeah.
A couple of Hellions out here, going to kind of try to poke a little bit. Our lovely observer showing us that it is going to be Cloak Banshee to follow it up. And Pig, we've been seeing a lot of Cloak Banshee as kind of a control aspect of this. You can get some harass in there, you can do some damage. But what is the strength of that Cloak Banshee opening? Because it doesn't feel like it ends the game, right?
Wow, he's going to dive with the Hellion. Okay, Noseling speed isn't done just yet. All right. I was like, you don't want to throw these Hellions away just for a scout right now. Back to your question, Jeff. I think the Banshee is the safest unit, right? It's just got such good damage output. So a Nidus Worm pops up in your base, it's going to be good against that. It's going to be good to defend a Roach Flood across the map, a Baneling Bust. Any of these sort of things, the Banshee adds safety, but it is the least extreme amount of damage usually that you can inflict with it, right? Like, it's such a fragile unit. Usually you kind of slowly rack up little bits of damage. Pick off a drone or two here, force some Spore Crawlers, maybe kill some Creep Tumors.
Overseers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't want to really dive in and lose the Banshees, though. If you lose the first couple Banshees, it gets really bad.
All right, our observer keeps showing off this little dance we have right here. The Nidus strategy, of course, always on the mind of a Terran, Zerg, or Protoss, to be fair. It's on the mind of everybody. We have that roving pack of Hellions and the Reaper accompanying it, but there is that Cloak Banshee going to show up here. Oh. Pick off this Queen.
She's going walkabout. Way too far off creep there.
A little too much.
Yeah. Ooh, wow. Nice. The Hellions don't want to get surrounded here. The Lings try to get the wraparound. They're going to commit. INnoVation's going to wriggle his way out, though. Good micro.
Yeah, some of the damage is going to be on those Hellions. That's kind of the important pairing there, right? Like, if you do damage to the Reaper, who cares? He goes off into the safety of some corn to do some drugs, gets healthy, and then the Hellions can actually continue to do their thing. But when the Hellions get low in health, their ability to fly around and continue to do that harass kind of gets diminished. But as it is, not bad. You want to stop the creep spread of Rogue. You want to kind of keep tabs on which route he's going to go. We can see the double Evo chamber inside the main. It's going to be probably melee upgrades. What do you pair that with? Is it going to be just the Hydra strategy, I suppose?
Yeah, most likely. We'll have to wait and see. There's a few different ways of doing it. Some players going to fast ultras. Those Hellions did get surrounded. They couldn't get the splash damage. Of course, the Hellions deal splash damage in a line effect. So because the Zerglings were in that spread out kind of flank sort of battle row, they weren't able to take the splash. The Banshees now coming in. They do find an exposed angle down here. Very nice. 5 worker kills and rotating between these bases. Now, this is the one disadvantage of this third. Notice how they can kind of bounce between the main and that low ground third base. So it's a little bit frustrating. We saw the Queen go down earlier because of that, and now they might pick out a few more drones on the way out, and indeed they do.
And all of a sudden you can kind of see the utility of this Banshee opening on a map like this. Ooh, trying to intercept that Banshee. Oh, it's so low. Come on. Nope, not this time, I guess. It's going to back off. So some decent damage, about 9 drones, but not game-ending damage. But it's just good to chip away, to use the word you were using earlier, against Rogue, slow him down, keep tabs on him. It's also scouted, by the way, the double Evo chamber.
Yeah.
And Pig, like you said, we're going to have to wait and see the tech, but it kind of does minimize it, right? When you see that, you're not thinking Nidus or ultimate aggression, you're thinking more of a mid-game plan, right?
Absolutely, and you know what? I think we're going to go Massling Bane straight to Hive for Rogue. He plays this style sometimes. He's missing a gas in the main. You know, 5 gas Hydras would be normal, but he's also missing a gas on the third. It's 4 gases in total across his bases. He's not going to go any more than that. He's going to have an absolutely overwhelming Ling Bane count, and he's just going to look to swarm over INnoVation's attacks, backstab a lot with Zerglings here. We see the first one in action.
And very often you go into ultras with this too, right? You were saying that a little bit earlier. Wow, the bio attack though, over here at that 4th base, they are going to fight on creep, picks up.
Ooh, good spread on the
out of dodge. Widowmines, yep, they do get the Lings there, and the Bailey connection's not great. The backstab only gets 6 SCVs, so far a nice little back and forth here.
Yeah, so when we're looking at the work account, something interesting. Rogue's only at 66 drones, but hold that thought. We can analyze the economy after looking at some more of this fantastic marine control. INnoVation just chipping away, slowing down the creep spread most importantly. So as I was getting at, Rogue's mineral income is insane. If you look down at the income next to the number at the bottom, plus 3,000 minerals a minute. He doesn't have that much gas mining. He's not focusing on things like Hydras, Mutas. So the mobility of his army is extreme. Now, longevity, maybe not as good while you're just on Ling Bane, but if you can take a good fight before your opponent's army gets too big, before there's too many Widow Mines, Ling Bane is all you need. It gets the job done. So this is a fast-moving, hard-hitting, mobile style. If INnoVation kind of messes up, leaves the door down, doesn't have defense for a counterattack, he will lose the game very quickly. The question is, does INnoVation realize he's up against this, adjust, and play more patiently? That's what he has to do. Take a 4th, get a ton of Widow Mines, and don't let Rogue into your Mineral Lions.
Yeah, it's such a tightrope act though, right? Like, because like you said, it can end the game very quickly, but I find if you take a bad fight, I mean, there's just a bad angle, 5 tanks flatten all your Lings, some Widow Mines connect, all of a sudden it's you that's on the back, but the reinforcements of Lings and only having Queens can be really troublesome. Also, I find the morphing time for Banelings super important. It has to come in waves. It can't just be 35 Banelings show up and then you have 0. It needs to be 15 and then 15 and then 15 and so on and so forth. So it's a very tight game at this point in time of the strategy.
Burrowed Zerglings providing map hacks almost all over the map, providing those little circles of vision. They do have reduced vision when they're burrowed, but they still do spot things. Burrowed Banelings sent up in certain positions as well. Rogue controlling the map. He's going to start the infestation pit now. 84 worker economy for Rogue. His mineral income is at 4,000 minerals a minute. We never see anyone get this high on minerals. The ability to reproduce his Zergling army on 6 hatcheries is absolutely insane.
That's pretty good. Another Widowmine attempt here. Gonna get some minimal drone loss. Another attempt over there, but there's Lings already waiting. If they were paying attention, they kind of are. It's gonna head over here to the natural.
He's gonna get a few more of these drilling claw mines. Gonna get some big hits here. And I mean, he can replace those quickly with his economy. He's got 20 drones in production. He's almost over-droning right now. That's crazy. Rogue, that's an insane amount of work. He's gonna go up to 90 drones.
Yep, that is a absolute lot. Another run by attempt here. They're just kind of occupying attention with those Lings. Here come the Banelings towards the mineral line. INnoVation does get a decent spread, but kind of leaves some clumped up in the mineral line. That's going to be some pretty decent loss there as well. But in the middle of the field, even off creep, the Banelings, they come back down here. And they kind of will. Oh, and there's the big connection. 15 SCVs die, but still, it's worth noting, INnoVation had a lot of workers himself. He's actually at 70, even after losing 15.
Yeah, both players going into a big macro game. You know, if you go higher in workers than you actually need right then, it's a sort of buffer. That's what INnoVation had there as well. For Rogue, though, he's still adding more workers. He wants to stay at 90 drones. He wants to keep his mineral income above 4,000. Rogue has almost unlimited money right now. Just look at this endless swell of Zerglings and Banelings going across this map. This is insane.
And the Widow Mines are going to die as well, and they're actually going to make their way. That is just an orbital, so this base is overrun. INnoVation has a wall and it is natural, but what good is that if you're losing your 3rd base? His 4th base, I believe, is a planetary, so it should be safe for now, but this base is getting dislodged. 123 supply for INnoVation to 175 for Rogue. And it's worth mentioning, like you said, it's a fairly inexpensive composition, but kind of as I say that, Pig, he's spending all his money.
Yeah, he's got 6 hatcheries.
It's a Hive tech,
queuing up injects on all of them.
Yeah.
He's just gone to Hive. He's starting Adrenal. Hasn't started 3-3 yet, and he doesn't need to. He is drowning INnoVation right now in seas of Zerg. This is like almost It's just like this classic idea of Zerg, which we don't really see much in Legacy of the Void, where it's just tons of cheaper units, using your mobility, your positioning, and any small trades he takes it in his favor, because Rogue has so much more income. And the fact that these trades are actually good for him, that's why we see him with a 50 supply advantage right now.
94 drones is just hovering at, I mean, Jeff Bezos level of economy right now. They're going to pick up and try to get out of the middle of the map. But we just saw the depot wall get knocked down in that third base. It looks like there's a string of red making its way over there. Yeah, that's a base in trouble. Here comes the Bioforce to try to answer for it. Main's already intercepting the Liberators everywhere across the map. They're doing minimal damage as well. And even with the landed forces, there's just so many lanes.
Oh, I mean, INnoVation, he's just getting swarmed here. He was trying to keep up the pressure in this map. But it wasn't, I feel like he bled a few too many units out on the map. I think he really needed to respect the ability for Rogue to just roll in with obscene amounts of Zergling, Baneling. It seems like this third base has been ransacked. The Endless Ling Bane still coming out. Rogue keeping his supply so high, he's even managed to find the money to do up 3-3.
There's nothing on the tech. There's nothing up there. He's just actually just making Lings. He's going for 3-3. Adrenal's going to finish up. It did just finish up. These Lings got a big boost, but Pig, this game might be just 13 minutes of straight Ling Baneling.
This is gross. It's beautiful. It's
very
gross, it's disgusting. This is awesome. I remember in 2016 seeing Guru of all players play a style like this and actually take down Showtime in a couple of maps when Showtime was one of the best Protoss in the world at that time. So, you know, it's kind of funny. Once in a while, you'll see a Zerg do this. And the thing is, there's so little tech for Rogue. This has not got a lot of utility, this composition. But when you keep finding angles like that, you don't need it. You just need a whole lot of Lings and Banes.
Well, it was like 85 SCVs. We're down to 43. If you want to see a scary number, you can look at the... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's obviously more resources lost for Zerg, but that's fine. When you've got over 90 workers, it doesn't matter. Those Banelings, of course, just, you know, continuing to roll in. Now, army supply advantage is up 25 for INnoVation. Rogue has sacrificed a lot of army to kill economy. He needs to just hang on here. And this Marine Marauder count, there's single medevac for every single Marauder. The Marines here, but there's just too much Ling Bane.
Yeah, he's going to hold on, I think. There's a lot of medevacs. That's the, like, slightly worrisome number, but if there's nothing below it, doesn't really matter. Supply is getting a little bit close, and we are fighting off creep, so to Pig's point, Rogue, don't get too far ahead of yourself. You've done a great job, but it is that one bad battle and things can spill backwards. Look at how red the top left-hand side of the map is.
Continuing to counterattack is absolutely vital when you're playing against a Widowmine parade push like this. You can't engage it front on. You also need to remember to keep making Overseers on the front, which he forgot. He's just started making another Overseer.
Okay.
Those Widowmines being allowed to refill there, reload, rearm, and fire once again. That's a big mistake there.
Yeah, but Pig, this, right?
Yes. This is definitely reminiscent of Aliens right now. It's game over, man! And that's what those Marines are shouting. There's just way too much Zerg, and the Terran commanders, they did not send in enough troops for that one.
No. Aliens or Starship Troopers, but just, you know, fill in your sci-fi fun, you know, whatever there. It's just a run over Rogue. Relentless aggression throughout that entire thing. A really fun style for us to watch, but Pig, you're a really, really smart StarCraft guy. You do a lot of educational stuff. Tell me, as a Terran player, what is it you do to curb this kind of thing? Because that looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing is, it's so hard to read as well because it looks so similar to someone who's going to be adding the Hydras and kind of playing the more normal style. You don't necessarily realize, wait, that fifth base is there earlier than normal because you don't even see it. I don't think INnoVation saw such a fast fifth. You don't realize, oh, wait, there's only 4 gases in total because there's a few gases that are meant to be missing on some of these bases anyway. So it's hard for you to even clue onto what's happening, let alone once it happens, often it's too late. Suddenly those Ling Bane counterattacks were finding mineral lines. They were rolling in, and there was once or twice where INnoVation was distracted by a counterattack and Rogue would roll Banelings into his army and catch Marines. And I feel like you do need to just play a little bit more defensive, wait for more units, rely on drops, right? Whenever you're dropping, it's like, hey, you don't have the anti-air. I'm going to pick up and drop and take these small, efficient trades. That being said, Rogue was really well prepared. A cool thing I didn't point out, he had 3 queens on the north and 3 queens on the south, apart from his injecting queens. I don't know if he had control groups on him or not, but he was like, I know you're going to try and drop and send Liberators, so I've got these like sort of little queen squads ready to intercept that. So a Rogue, he must have played this style a ton. That looked really well refined.
Yeah, it's amazing when a player's really hitting their stride, even in an individual game, because it's like, you look at a game like that, and I get this sense of like dread. It's like, what could have INnoVation done? Obviously, there is things you can do. It's not like it's unbeatable, but in that game, at that time, at that level, Rogue sure looked invincible. Anyways, here we are into game number 2. We are at Automaton, and in the bottom left-hand side, the blue Terran needing your support. It's INnoVation. Somewhere out there, I can hear Ben saying, INnoVation, survive. Please, please survive.
And up here at the top right-hand side, his mission is to ruin the Terran fans' dreams. Up here in the top right, representing Jin Air Green Wings, the Red Zerg. Give it up for Rogue.
What a beast of a player in that CBZs. We saw some cheese coming out of him. We saw some straight-up aggression. In this CVT, he even broke away from the meta just a little bit. Like you said, there are other players that do that. It's not like we just saw some new tech and it's the first time it's ever been revealed, but playing that kind of high-octane map control, all-out aggression like that against a player like INnoVation, who's no slouch with his macro mechanics, it's pretty incredible, and he made it look godly.
It was very well done. You know, it's fascinating the way Ling Bane up against Biomine goes, because as the fights get really big, the Terran can kind of hit this critical mass where there's just so many Marauders, so many mines, and the Ling Bane kind of start clumping up, and these Widow Mines start getting these big money hits. But
in theory, right?
In theory, and I think it's like the Zerg is like, hey, I don't want to take a big fight. I want to roll in small squads of Banelings, so there's never a big target for the mines. They're doing just as much friendly fire as they are to my Zerg units, and I want to try and kind of cut away and not let you choose the fighting ground, right? The Terran dream is set up mines, Marauders, Marines spread in this beautiful setup around the terrain, right outside the Zerg base.
Yeah.
You're kind of poking them with a few Marauders and saying, come and fight into this setup. And the Zerg, I mean, we saw Rogue do the opposite of that game. He was like, no, backstab here. Oh, you're not looking, roll some Banelings into your army. And he kept picking the fights and dictating the pace of that. So the push and pull, the tug of war, as you will, Rogue masterminded it in the last game. INnoVation is going to need to find a way to get back in control of the tempo of this series.
As a little bit of an aside from what you just said too, I think it's kind of fun for me and for a lot of people who have been watching StarCraft for years and years. I think back to like 2013, 2014, that parade push from Terran, from your Pulse, your these different Terrans, and a lot of times it was like the Zerg were taking massive Widowmine shots, because even then the skill level was just a little bit lower, right? Like Zergs were having a tougher time microing those fights out, but then you fast forward to now, and it's almost never that the Zerg's taking a massive hit. More often than not, they're dragging it into their Terran foes. It's just a different level, and it's fun seeing these guys year in and year out elevate the gameplay and just take it to new places. We keep saying, this is it. This is the best player. This is perfect for the world champion. And then the next year, they improve on themselves or somebody else does.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of depth of experience in StarCraft. You know, I remember in the early days thinking a lot about just looking at how good the Korean players were at learning and growing, and I was like, you know what, there's just this beautiful, rich kind of shared pool of experience these guys have from so many years of Brood War and so many years of big competitive games on TV with coaches and team houses and all this infrastructure, and I feel like it all just builds upon itself, where the new players coming in, they learn faster than the previous generation.
Yes.
And every time there's a new young generation, they're picking things up faster, they're learning all the mechanics, all the shortcuts very quickly in their career, and that's why the level just keeps getting pushed to new heights.
Couldn't agree more, Pick. That's, I mean, you go all the way back to Brood War, which still a lot of people are playing these days, but back in the day, replays were at a premium. You did not get them for pro players. There was not as much media coverage of matches, so the ability to kind of get information and learn and incorporate that into your own play was just so much more reduced. Now, everyone sees everything. There's replays, like you said, everyone's talking anyways. This is an awesome topic. We could cover that for hours, but probably should cover this game.
And that is indeed a Nidus Worm.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just mix up the pace.
Queen Nidus. Rogue already flooding Lings to the front, looking for a potential surround on the Hellions. You surround those Hellions, there is nothing left here for INnoVation. He has gone Banshees. We talked about how Banshees very good for helping against the Nidus. Ling Bane, a Roach that, guess what? When 5 Queens pop out of that Nidus, they do not care about Banshees.
See some Lings poking at the front. A little bit of a sell here, right? Like this is the first we're seeing of these Hellions and that. Oh man, this Banshee's so important. It sees the Overlord, it's like, why are you moving?
That is such a suspect Overlord right
there. You're moving like that.
Yeah, that's a cheeky Overlord. INnoVation knows he's already on his way.
What can he bring, though?
His Hellions are going to dive. His Hellions are going to dive on the other side of the map. It's a bit of a gamble. The Lings were not in the Nidus Worm. They were ready to surround.
Wow, they get the surround of this force. It's going to die. They can pop into that Nidus and say, sure, I'll have my cake and eat it too. There's nothing to stop the Nidus. Here comes the Lings. And here comes the Queens. INnoVation staring down the face of 0-3. That's been elimination so far here at Katowice. He might be making a departure, Pig.
He's got a cloaked Banshee and a bunch of SCVs.
He's got nothing. 0 and 2. Rogue just took INnoVation to 0-3. Holy cow.
Oh my lord.
Not good. Not good if you're a Terran fan right now. And INnoVation looks... He's usually a pretty chill guy, and he still is right now, but you can tell he's a little bit rocked there, but good news for Rogue fans. At 1-1 in this group, he needed this win against a very tough opponent. He was able to get it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a bit of a shocker. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll hear from Rogue.